Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Today, I have a unique and engaging story to share with you. So, grab your popcorn, get comfortable, and let's dive right in. My name is Alex Thompson, a 48-year-old truck driver with over 2 decades of experience behind the wheel. It's not a glamorous life, but it paid the bills and kept my wife, Emily, comfortable in our home in Boise, Idaho. I'd been feeling a tightness in my chest for weeks, but I brushed it off as stress from the long hours and bad coffee. That is, until I couldn't ignore it anymore. I was somewhere outside Denver when the pain got so bad that I had to pull over. I called 911 myself, and before I knew it, I was being airlifted to a hospital in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Turns out, I wasn't having a panic attack. My heart was shutting down. I remember the doctor's face before everything went black. "We're losing him," she said. "Not exactly what you want to hear right before you pass out." 2 days later, I woke, up with tubes in my arms and a stent in my heart. The nurse told me I'd flatlined twice and that I was lucky to be alive. I didn't feel lucky, though. When I checked my phone, there was only one message from Emily. We'd been married for 17 years, no kids, just a mortgage in Boise, and a lot of quiet dinners when I was home between hauls. The message had a screenshot of our joint account balance, $0. Below it, she wrote, "I deserve this after everything I've done for you. $65,189.43. My emergency fund, my truck maintenance account, my retirement cushion, all gone." I should have felt something, maybe rage or betrayal, but I just felt tired. I sent her a thumbs-up emoji and nothing else. When the doctor came in, he told me I needed to rest, avoid stress, and no driving for at least 6 weeks. He asked if someone was picking me up. "Tomorrow, yeah," I lied. That night, I made a call to my sister, Laura. She lived on the other side of town, and we hadn't spoken in months, not because we were fighting, but because we lived different lives. "Need a favor," I said. "Name it," she answered without hesitation. "Need a place to crash for a few days, and I need you not to tell Emily." There was a pause. "She doesn't know you're alive." "Oh, she knows," I said. "She just doesn't know I'm not coming home. I met Emily at a diner outside Salt Lake City. She was a waitress, and I was the guy who stopped in for a late-night coffee. Back then, she looked at me like I was some kind of hero for tipping well and being polite. Funny how that works. Things that impress people at first just become expected later on. We got married 8 months after that, quick but not reckless. I was 31, she was 28, old enough to know better, young enough to believe in something. She never liked that I was gone 3 weeks out of 4, but the money was good, and she liked what it bought. I'd call every night from whatever state I was passing through. Sometimes the conversations lasted an hour, but as the years went on, they got shorter. 5 minutes of updates, then just checking in. The last couple of years, it was mostly texts. "Made it to Phoenix, all good here." Looking back, there were signs. She stopped asking when I'd be home, started taking trips with friends I'd never met, but I trusted her. That's what marriage is, right? Trust. My sister Laura helped me into her guest room. She's a nurse practitioner, works locally, divorced twice, and knows something about the ways people can disappoint you. "You should eat something," she said. I wasn't hungry. I was thinking about the house I'd bought, about the refinancing I'd done 3 months earlier when rates dropped. Emily had said she was too busy to come to the signing, so I handled it myself, put it only in my name since my credit score was better. She never even asked to see the paperwork. There was also the medical power of attorney I'd set up last year, after my buddy Mike had his stroke and his girlfriend couldn't make decisions for him. I got worried, so my nephew Jamie, Laura's son, helped me with it. Law student, smart kid, he made sure everything was in order. "Does Emily know you're here?" Laura asked as she handed me a sandwich. "No," I said, "and we're going to keep it that way for a bit." "She took everything?" I nodded. "What are you going to do?" I took a bite of the sandwich. It didn't taste like anything. "I'm going to get some rest, doctor's orders," I said. But that night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, remembering all the little moments where Emily had seemed distant, checking her phone under the table, changing passwords, moving money between accounts for better interest rates. I'd been blind, but not anymore. Anna. My third day at Laura's place, I got a text from our neighbor, Greg. Haven't seen you around. Everything okay? Emily's got some guy over, thought you should know. I sat with that for a long time, didn't respond, just let it sink in. Later that afternoon, I drove with Laura to the bank, not our regular branch where Emily and I were known, but the main office downtown. I asked to speak with a fraud specialist, showed them the text message with the screenshot, and explained I'd been hospitalized, unconscious, and that the withdrawals happened without my knowledge or consent. The woman behind the desk kept her face neutral, professional, but I could see it in her eyes, pity, maybe a little anger on my behalf. Mr. Thompson, we can start a fraud investigation, but given that it's a joint account and your wife has equal access, it may be difficult. I understand, I cut in, but I'd like to try anyway. She nodded, started typing on her computer. We'll need records from the hospital confirming your stay, particularly documentation of when you were unconscious or incapacitated. Not a problem, I said. And you should know if this becomes a criminal matter, the police will get involved. I looked at her. I'm aware. On the way back to Laura's, we stopped for gas. I stayed in the car while she pumped. Through the windshield, I watched a father with 2 kids buying ice cream from a convenience store, normal life going on all around me. Want anything? Laura asked. I shook my head. Back at her place, I made 3 phone calls, first to my dispatcher, telling him I needed extended medical leave, second to the credit union where I kept a small business account for my independent contracting jobs, and third to a lawyer friend of Laura's. I need to know where I stand, I explained, with the house, with the accounts, with everything. The lawyer, Sam, agreed to meet the next day. I hung up and pulled out my laptop, logged into accounts Emily didn't know existed. Checked the status of investments she'd never asked about, not because I was hiding anything from her, but because she'd never shown interest in the boring parts of our finances. While I was doing that, another text came through from Emily. This time, it said. Where are you? Your truck isn't at the depot. Did they tell you I came by? I didn't answer. Alex, this is ridiculous. You can't just disappear. We need to talk about this. I put the phone down. Laura looked over from the kitchen. She reaching out? She asked. Yeah, I said. You going to respond? I closed my laptop. Not yet. That night, I took a walk around Laura's neighborhood. It was a clear night, stars visible even with the city lights. For the first time since the hospital, my chest didn't hurt, not physically anyway. I realized something during that walk. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt, I was just done. And with that came clarity. Emily hadn't just taken my money, she'd given me my freedom. A week after I was discharged, I finally went home. Middle of the day when I knew Emily would be at her office job. I used my key, walked in like I'd just come back from another haul. The house smelled different. Cologne that wasn't mine, empty wine bottles in the recycling bin, 2 wine glasses in the dishwasher. I packed some clothes, my important papers, and the small lockbox from the closet where I kept my birth certificate and passport. As I was walking out, I noticed the framed photo from our wedding day was missing from the hallway table. Back at Laura's, I met with Sam, the lawyer. We sat at the kitchen table with papers spread out between us. The house situation is interesting, he said, reviewing the refinancing documents. Since you refinanced solely in your name with that medical clause and given your recent cardiac event, you have a strong case for sole possession. What about the money she took? Sam frowned. That's trickier. Joint accounts typically mean joint ownership, but he tapped a finger on the bank statements. The fact that she cleared it out while you were medically incapacitated could constitute financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, especially since you have documentation that these were primarily your earnings. I nodded. And if I want a divorce? Sam leaned back. Idaho is a community property state, but given the circumstances, I think we can make a compelling case for an arrangement in your favor. I'll draft some initial documents. In the meantime, don't contact her. Don't respond if she reaches out. Everything threw me. The next day, Emily showed up at Laura's house. I was alone. Laura was at work. I heard her car pull up but didn't look out the window. The doorbell rang 3 times before she started knocking. "I know you're in there, Alex. Your truck is parked down the street." Her voice was muffled through the door. "You can't just hide. We need to talk about this." I sat perfectly still in the living room, like a kid playing hide and seek. Eventually, the knocking stopped. I thought she'd left until my phone buzzed. "I'm sorry about the money. I was angry. You've been distant for months. I thought you were cheating. I found out about the house refinancing and panicked. We can work this out. Please talk to me." It was the first time she'd ever accused me of cheating. Projection, probably. I turned the phone face down without replying. The next day, Sam called with news. "Emily contacted me," he said. "She's hired Linda Hart as her attorney." Linda Hart, one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in the state, known for going after everything: houses, retirement accounts, future earnings. "What does that mean? For us?" I asked. "It means she's not playing around," Sam said. "Hart is already claiming that your abandonment after the hospitalization constitutes desertion. She's painting you as unstable, saying you disappeared without explanation and are refusing communication." I let out a long breath. "So, what now?" "Now we get ahead of this," Sam said. "I filed for an emergency hearing regarding the funds she withdrew. Judge Miller is presiding, and he takes a very dim view of taking advantage of medical situations." After hanging up, I stared at the wall for a long time. Then I made another call to my niece, Jamie. I needed his help with something specific. That evening, I drove past our house. Emily's car was in the driveway alongside a black BMW I didn't recognize. I circled the block once, then headed back to Laura's. In the driveway, I got a text from a number I didn't know. "This is Linda Hart. I represent Emily Thompson. Any further surveillance of my client will be documented as harassment. All communication must go through proper legal channels." They were watching me. I was watching them. And now the gloves were off. 2 weeks after that first meeting with Sam, we had our day in court, an emergency hearing regarding the withdrawn funds. Emily was there with Linda Hart, both in sharp suits. I wore the only tie I owned, the one I kept in my truck for unexpected funerals on the road. Judge Miller was an older man with white hair and reading glasses perched on the end of his nose. He reviewed the filings without expression, occasionally looking up at Emily, then at me. "Ms. Hart," he finally said, "your client withdrew the entirety of the joint accounts while Mr. Thompson was hospitalized for a life-threatening cardiac event. Is that correct?" Hart stood. "Your Honor, my client had every right to access those joint funds. Furthermore, Mr. Thompson had recently refinanced their marital home solely in his name, without Mrs. Thompson's knowledge, which we contend was the first act of financial deception." The judge removed his glasses. "I'm not asking about the house right now, Counselor. I'm asking about the timing of the withdrawal. Was your client aware that Mr. Thompson was in the hospital when she took the money?" Emily leaned over and whispered something to Hart. Hart cleared her throat. "Yes, Your Honor, but my client was under extreme emotional distress, believing her marriage was ending. She acted to protect herself financially." The judge put his glasses back on. "While unconscious, from a heart attack seems an unlikely time for Mr. Thompson to end his marriage." He shuffled some papers. "I'm ordering the funds frozen pending further proceedings. Neither party may access this money until ownership is determined in the divorce settlement. It wasn't a complete win, but it stopped Emily from spending any more." As we left the courtroom, Emily tried to approach me. Hart held her back with a hand on her arm, but not before Emily said, "Alex, please, there's so much you don't understand." I walked past without looking at her. Outside, Sam was satisfied. "This is just the beginning. Now we start discovery." Discovery, the part where all the cards get laid on the table. A week later, Sam called me to his office. When I arrived, he had a folder waiting. We've got something, he said, sliding it across the desk. Inside was a bank statement from an account I didn't recognize. Emily's name was on it. The balance, $132,456.78. Where did this come from? I asked. Your niece found it, Sam said. Jamie's internship at the credit union downtown gave him some insights. This account was opened 18 months ago. Regular deposits, always just under $10,000, just under the reporting threshold. Classic sign of hiding money. There's more, Sam said. The deposits align with your long-haul schedule. When you're gone, money goes in. I sat back. She'd been planning this for a year and a half. Sam shook his head. I don't think she was planning. To leave you, Alex, I think she was preparing in case you left her. Why would I leave her? I was working myself to death to provide for us. That's when Sam slid over another piece of paper, a credit card statement with a hotel charge from a place in Seattle. Date, 4 months ago. I'd been in Phoenix that week. The name on the reservation was Greg Turner. Greg, our neighbor, the one who texted me about the guy at our house. Sam's face was grim. We think Greg has been involved with Emily for some time. He was creating a false trail to make you suspicious while they were together. The betrayal wasn't just Emily. It was coordinated, planned. Greg playing concerned. Neighbor while sleeping with my wife. Emily draining our accounts while I was fighting for my life. I stood up. What's our next move? Sam smiled for the first time that day. That's up to you, but if I were in your shoes, I'd make sure they both regret ever thinking they could get away with this. I spent the next month living at Laura's, recovering physically while Sam built our case. We had a strategy now. Document everything, gather evidence of Emily and Greg's relationship, prove the financial deception. My niece Jamie was invaluable. His position at the credit union gave us insight into financial patterns we wouldn't have seen otherwise. Nothing illegal, just connecting dots that were already in plain sight. The account has another person with access, Jamie told me one evening. Not a joint owner, but an authorized user. Greg, I guessed. He nodded. And there's something else. They've started moving money, smaller amounts to different accounts. They know we're onto them. I stared out the window. They were liquidating, getting ready to run. That night I called Sam. We need to move faster. I agree, but we need to be careful. If we tip our hand too soon, they'll disappear with everything. So, what do we do? Sam was quiet for a moment. We need leverage. Something that makes them think twice about running. The next day I drove to our house when I knew Emily would be at work. I didn't go inside. Instead, I walked the property line, taking photos with my phone. The new shed Greg had helped build last summer. The fancy landscaping that had mysteriously appeared while I was on a 3-week haul to Florida. Improvements paid for with my money likely installed by Greg, increasing the property value of the home that was now solely in my name. I sent the photos to Sam with a simple message, documented. 2 days later, Emily's lawyer called Sam with an unexpected offer. Emily would return 50% of the withdrawn funds in exchange for 50% equity in the house. They're testing us, Sam said when he called to tell me. Seeing if we'll settle cheap. What do we tell them? Nothing yet. Let them sweat. Meanwhile, I made another move. I contacted my trucking company's HR department, explained my situation, and asked about the disability insurance I'd been paying into for 20 years. You're entitled to 60% of your salary for up to 12 months, given your cardiac event and the doctor's restrictions, the HR representative explained. I filed the paperwork that day. Another source of income that Emily didn't know about, wouldn't be included in any settlement discussions yet. The next week, I had Laura drive me past our house again. This time, I noticed something new. A for sale sign on Greg's lawn. He's cutting and running, Laura said. I nodded. Call Jamie. An hour later, Jamie confirmed our suspicion. Greg had cleared out his accounts 2 days earlier, nearly $95,000 withdrawn in cashier's checks. I called Sam immediately. We need to act now. Greg's selling his house. Emily might be planning to go with him. Sam didn't hesitate. I'll file for an emergency injunction first thing tomorrow, freezing all assets, preventing property sales without court approval. The next morning, I woke to a text from Emily. "We need to talk. Just you and me, no lawyers." I showed it to Laura. "They're desperate," she said. I nodded. "Good." I forwarded the text to Sam, who replied, "Don't respond. Injunction hearing is at 2 p.m. At 1:30, I was walking into the courthouse when I spotted Emily and Greg together in the parking lot, arguing. They didn't see me. I took out my phone and recorded them from a distance. 30 seconds of evidence showing their relationship, something they'd been careful to hide from legal proceedings. Inside, Sam was waiting. I showed him the video. "Perfect timing," he said. Judge Miller's chambers were smaller than the courtroom, just the judge, the two lawyers, Emily and me. Greg wasn't allowed in. He wasn't party to the divorce. The video of them together played on the judge's computer. No sound, but their body language said everything. "Ms. Hart," Judge Miller said when it finished, "would you care to explain why your client has been declaring under oath that she has no relationship with this neighbor when video evidence clearly shows otherwise?" Hart looked shaken. "Your Honor, the nature of their relationship isn't relevant to the financial matters at hand. It is when financial fraud is being alleged," the judge said. He turned to Emily. "Mrs. Thompson, are you planning to leave the state with Mr. Turner?" Emily's face went pale. I don't... Let me rephrase," the judge continued. "The court has evidence that you and Mr. Turner have been moving substantial sums of money, that Mr. Turner is selling his property, and that you withdrew funds from joint accounts while your husband was incapacitated. This suggests a pattern of deception, an intent to flee." He looked at both lawyers. "I'm issuing an immediate freeze on all assets belonging to both Emily Thompson and Greg Turner. Neither may leave the county without court permission. Additionally," he turned to me, "given Mr. Thompson's medical condition and the evidence of financial exploitation during his incapacity, I'm granting temporary exclusive use of the marital home to Mr. Thompson." Emily made a small, choked sound. "Your Honor," Hart began, but the judge held up a hand. "The exploitation of a medically vulnerable spouse is something this court takes very seriously, Counselor. You're lucky I'm not recommending criminal charges at this time." Sam gathered his papers, trying not to look too satisfied. As we left, Emily caught my eye for the first time. I saw fear there, not of me, but of consequences. 3 months after the hospital, I moved back into our house. My house now. The divorce was finalized faster than anyone expected. Emily didn't fight after the injunction hearing. Greg had disappeared, leaving her to face everything alone. In the end, the judge awarded me the house, my truck, and 80% of our savings. Emily got her car and the remaining 20%. The secret account was split 50-50, but only after she paid my legal fees from her share. I never spoke to her directly again. Everything through lawyers. The last I heard, she'd moved to Seattle, starting over, I guess. I sold the house 6 months later. Too many memories. Bought a smaller place closer to Laura and Jamie. Used some of the money to help Jamie with law school. He's going to make a hell of an attorney someday. I don't drive long haul anymore. My heart can't take the stress. Doctor says I found work dispatching instead, home every night. It's quieter than the open road, but there's something to be said for stability. Sometimes people ask if I'm angry about what happened. I'm not anymore. You can't control what others do, only how you respond. Emily thought she was taking everything from me that day in the hospital. Instead, she forced me to fight for myself in a way I never had before. Last week, I was cleaning out some old boxes and found our wedding album. Thought about throwing it away, but didn't. Just put it back in the box. It's part of my story now. Not the end, just a chapter. The heart attack nearly killed me. The betrayal nearly broke me. But I'm still here. Changed, maybe stronger, definitely. Some lessons you learn the hard way. Some people you lose for good reason. And sometimes the life you rebuild is better than the one you lost. If you liked this story, please help me by sharing the video with your friends. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more unique and engaging content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.